We have babies. So many hatched yesterday that I pulled them from the incubator last night around midnight, since the first one started hatching around noon. I pulled 70 babies out of the incubator, and we have a lot more still hatching. This is my brooder setup. I built it myself. I always put a nipple water in for the chicks because that keeps their water the cleanest. They get in the water, they flick wood chips in there, all that stuff. They can't really flick right now. They're kind of too little for that at this point. But once they start using the nipple water, then I'll take the other water away. And then that also can help prevent drowning. However, this water that I found has a more narrow channel, I guess, maybe you would call it, where the water sits. Like, it's not as wide, so I have less drownings. Now, the more birds you have in a brooder, the more likeliness for drowning and smothering and all of that. So I don't like to keep this many in a bin. This is a lot in my opinion because they can crowd together. So I need to get my second brooder set up. But since I just pulled them out, this is an okay situation. And I need to sell some because I have way more than I need. The chicks, if your feed, your quail starter or your game bird starter is too coarse, you will have to put it in a blender and break it up more to like a mash for the first week of the birds. Luckily, the feed that I get is local, and it's ground small enough that I don't have to grind it up in my Vitamix anymore. So that's exciting. I use a reptile lamp instead of the traditional brooder lamps. It's safer. When I started this process, I had a young son, and I don't want him to be having access to touching a hot lamp. So the reptile lamps, especially this one, this is a newer one, they seem to be hotter than the older ones that I had, even though I'm using the same bulbs. But I'm able to adjust the temperature because it's a dual lamp. So there's two heat bulbs in there. So I can turn one off, turn them both on. I also adjust the heat by using this old swaddling blanket from when my son was young. So if I put that on, they're gonna get too hot, so they're gonna move to the right side of the brooder. But I prop this up to let some heat escape, and then that allows them to be comfortable. So you can see directly under where the heat lamp is, there's no birds right there because it's too hot. I also have a thermometer in there so I can see how hot it is. So basically, once the birds get to about hanging out mostly halfway in the bin, then I might turn a lamp off, then cover it with the blanket. It's just how I adjust my temperature. It also keeps dust down. So it's never recommended to keep birds in your house. However, if you understand the risks, then you make your own decision. But birds are very dusty, so this blanket also contains the dust mostly inside of the brooder, and so that takes care of that problem. I keep the baby quail, the quail chicks in the house for about a week to 2 weeks. It depends on how many I have, but maybe like a week and a half. But that is the time frame where if you're going to lose chicks, that's when you're going to lose them. So I like to be able to monitor them as much as I can. I walk by they're in my dining room, so I see them all the time. I'm able to check on them, check on their food, check on their water, see if I've lost any, see if they're too hot, see if they're too cold, all of that stuff. So they're all kind of snuggling in. not quite at the halfway mark. I might turn off a heat lamp and cover it completely with a blanket and see what they do. If they are cold, then I'll switch it back. But they seem to be doing good. So if your birds are spread out, they're happy. If they're huddled together, they're cold. If they're all the way to the opposite end of the heat, then they are hot.